we have with us Congress Lok Sabha MP from Inner Manipur, Mr. A.Bimol Akoijam, to talk to us about the evolving political situation in Manipur following the resignation of N. Biren Singh as the state chief minister. Welcome to the print, sir.
Thank you.
So, Manipur has been reeling under ethnic conflict for the last 21 months. The state is today divided on ethnic lines. Governance is badly hit. Do you think the resignation of Biren Singh has come a little late in the day?
No, I think first of all, I don't completely see it as a situation where you can reduce it to a ethnic conflict. I think it's basically what we have witnessed is a failure to maintain what is expected of a constitutional order. In that, the inter-community relations is implicated. Uh, it's not his resignation per se, therefore, is not an issue in that sense. What is at the heart of the issue is the complete, uh, abdication of responsibility by the state. So in that sense, his resignation uh, is not going to be the major issue in that sense. It all depends on how the government of India respond to this situation. This has been the key issue for us. And the government of Manipur, whoever takes it over, must also ensure that you have this semblance of governance. That is the basic issue.
But sir, dissent against Biren Singh from his own party MLAs was there for, was brewing for some time now, and the party leadership at the center was aware of it. There was opposition, his own party MLAs, 19 of them, including Manipur Assembly Speaker, had written to the Prime Minister demanding the resignation of Biren Singh. So, why do you think it took the center so long? It has been silent all along. I mean, the Prime Minister has not visited the state once since violence broke out on May 2023. So, what do you think took the center so long to
And
respond?
I think, first of all, that's why I said the government of India's honesty is important. The resentment against this Biren Singh was brewing, as you said it, for a long time. But I think they were trying to push this Manipur crisis under the carpet and make it invisible. And there has been a mounting pressure from, especially from the opposition party and then on parliament. They tried to brush it aside in the last 7 in Lok Sabha. But this time, opposition is stronger, so we have made a lot of noises.
You spoke about it twice
Yeah, yeah.
on the
Not
floor
only
of the
me,
House.
not only me, but also her. But also, our representatives from our state also did not put the issue up front. So they try to make it like as if nothing has happened, and they try to push it under the carpet, so that the mounting pressure from the opposition, so things could not be hidden anymore. So I think that pressure has contributed to the pressure from outside as well as from inside the party, and I think that is they tried. I know my sense is that they try to again tide over this issue, but in the assembly, in all likelihood within their party, that thing has come to a point of no return. That's why I think they have taken this.
I mean, the party MLAs, a section of the party, BJP party MLAs said that they would have supported the no confidence motion planned by the Congress. So, do you think that that was finally what led to,
Yeah, it is.
because that would have been an
Yeah,
embarrassment,
that's precisely the point. But we know that we don't have the number. It is
the
not that.
Congress,
Yeah, yeah. Congress, we don't have. We only 5
5
MLAs
MLAs, yeah.
there. But our motive, if at all we place a no confidence motion, is to force the state assembly to discuss. If the no confidence motion we have to discuss. Remember that in the 17th Lok Sabha, The then government, Modi government also refused to talk about it. So we put a no confidence motion, and in the discussions we discussed, Manipur issue per se, they were not ready to discuss. So we took that route of forcing no confidence motion, and then similarly here, even though we don't have the number, a no confidence motion would have given us an opportunity to lay out what are the issues in front of us. They've been talking about so many issues, core issue, that issue. Everything should have been placed, and state has an assembly of its own. The legitimacy of that assembly would have revived. We would have talked about it. Our motive is primarily that you can sense it if we put the no confidence motion. But they were afraid that that motion might not be defeated. You see, that's why they were trying to save their own embarrassment by subverting. It's supposed to start from today.
Yeah,
So
it was called off.
I think these are the two factors. This time opposition made it sure that Manipur is not forgotten. It is not pushed under the carpet. And then second, that pressure has worked. So it has that internal dissidence also. I think everybody would be fed up with this kind of a violence, which ended in apathy of the government of India, union government, prime ministers, contemptuous attitude towards the suffering of the people of the state. All these things within the party, after all, they are human beings. They are BJP member also from the MLAs also from our state. So they must be feeling the pain as well as the pressure. So I think all these things came together, and this assembly session would have been the, very embarrassing moment for them to play that game anymore.
So the Congress has 5 MLAs, but was the Congress also in touch with a section of the BJP MLAs who were anti Biren Singh?
No, not necessary for that. No, we work on our own principles. We are not in the habit of breaking government, I suppose. That is, instability is something that we don't support. And what we need is a stable government. So our party motive is, as I said it, we don't have number. You know very well that if we put up a no confidence motion, it's not that we're going to win it. But the fact is that we put up the no confidence motion and we get an opportunity to discuss this whole issue which they have been refusing to do with. So I think that is the motive.
Also, sir, in the Supreme Court has now, sent the leaked tapes which was submitted to the Supreme Court to the CFSL laboratory for authentication. So, do you think that that also in some way
They must have
contributed?
played. That must have also, I cannot rule it out. That cannot be ruled out. But that is also an issue that some people have been flagging, So, yeah, probably that must have also played its own role. But I think major role is the pressure put up by the, opposition. I'm repeating again. They try to make it invisible. They had their own MPs first in the 7 in Lok Sabha. They would not speak up. So we have the opposition. There is opposition in the 7 in Lok Sabha was smaller in number. We have the strength now. So we make sure that Manipur is not forgotten, which against their wishes. You see, President's speech, they don't mention. When we make sure that we talk. This can be, this put up the, sort of the pressure is constantly pressed upon. So I think that had worked.
Sir, what next for Manipur? While accepting the resignation of Biren Singh and his Council of Ministers, Manipur Governor Ajay Bhalla asked Mr. Singh to continue till alternate arrangements are made. So, what are these alternate arrangements, and also how does the situation unfold from here on? I mean, will there be a president's rule or?
That either way, they have been doing a proxy. Sometimes they will blame that law and order is a state subject, the union government say. At the same time, through proxy, they will try to rule, dictate terms with the state government, the autonomy that the state has within the constitutional scheme as a state, law and order and stuff like that. You can see that. This Biren Singh used to complain that his power has been stripped off. he is powerless, the police CID did not report to him. He said it very openly. There's unthinkable, aspects in our federal polity. The central government has been doing, the union government has been doing, through surreptitious manner. Um, that will come into open. If they take over, then it should be their responsibility. Instead of doing a proxy government, that will come up front if they do it. So the government of India has to take a call. But I think the respect of the will of the people, because the 60 members represent the will of the people, and an incompetent government should not be an excuse to sort of suppress and dismiss the will of the people. So we need a government in the state. President rule is something that I, for one, do not support, because this is the will of the state must work through their representative, and whichever government that comes must be able to ensure that normalcy returns, writ of the state works, and it should also be able to stand up against the bullying tactics and unconstitutional manner in which the union government is dictating terms with the state. I think that kind of a government is something that people of Manipur deserve.
So, which is a far bigger challenge for the centre, because finding a replacement for Biren Singh, I mean the candidate has to be somebody, a consensus candidate who is acceptable to both the Methi as well as the Kuki MLAs from BJP. I mean the 7 Kuki MLAs from BJP, they have, I mean just after the violence broke out in May 2023, they had openly said that they don't have trust in Biren Singh. So a replacement for Biren Singh has to be somebody, I mean, who has to have the confidence of both the communities.
Let me put it this way. It is, first of all, it's their affair. This is BJP's affair, their alliance affair, which they will do according to what they want. But I would rather put it agreeable to, therefore, the party members, rather than communal sense of whether the Kuki or the Meitei accepts it. We don't talk about like this. It should be acceptable to the Hindus and Muslims or Christians. That we don't talk in politics in this country like this. I think it should be agreeable to the uh, elected members of the party and their alliance. I think this is the way we should be looking at it. And that person should take over, or otherwise, whichever formation, political formation that can come up, whichever government, my view is that it should be responsible, it should have the competence and ability to restore normalcy in the state and stand up against these unconstitutional diktats from Delhi.
So, at the end of the day, BJP still has the number in Manipur. It's just that Biren Singh's support base has shrunk. So, I mean, going by that, that's why a section of the BJP MLAs who are opposed to Biren Singh, they want somebody, I mean, from within the party fold to replace Biren Singh rather than a precedent rule.
Mosmi, let's put it this way, it's standing up against Biren Singh is also a capacity to stand up against the diktats from Delhi, especially Mr. Amit Shah, because the things have been outsourced to him, as people are saying like that. So it's not only against Biren Singh in that sense. I read it as that now that some of these people are able to stand up against Amit Shah, because remember that Amit Shah said on the floor of the House, Biren Singh was cooperating with him. So whatever has happened is it's actually the doings of the union government, this Modi Shah duo, is the one, quite obviously, because he said it on the floor of the House, is that the Biren Singh is cooperating with him. So if this is not so much against, in that sense, Biren Singh, it is against this Amit Shah. That's why we should not lose focus. What had happened in Manipur is Prime Ministers and Amit Shah is squarely responsible. They have been protecting this and putting up a facade as a state government there, and they are dictating terms. This has come out very openly because of their own government says, my power has been removed, that power has been gone. At the same time, they will throw the ball by saying law and order is a state subject, making confusion. So to my mind, it is the government of India is solely responsible for this. And now that within their party, I hope that they should be able to stand up. That's what I'm saying. Is otherwise, anybody comes and do the same kind of behavior and allow them to be ruled by proxy, people will be against that.
So the state would also require a lot of healing after 21 months of what it has gone through. So do you see a situation where all communities start coexisting peacefully like they did pre May 2023?
That should be the way, but we should go. We should not put the cart before the horse. The first thing is to rein in the violence and crack down on the armed groups. Like there's still a confusion on the suspension of operation, and there are their involvement in this violence is very clear. There are armed elements everywhere in the state, be that in the valley or in you have to have this firm action, but it should be a judicious action. You should not be only cracking down on, you should not seen, it should not be seen as if you are cracking down on one part and not on the other. That is very clear, because that will not restore the trust deficit that people have. And one more thing, you should be very careful. There are village volunteers in Manipur. We call them Khungakpa. Okay, these are civilians who are forced to defend themselves, their lives and their property, and the government should be evolving a policy to deal with them. You cannot treat them like criminals. We have a history of armed conflict. So you have political armed groups as well, but there are also elements who are propped up by politicians. You saw during my elections, the workers were beaten up and guns were used, and those are not defending Manipur. Those are not defending their communities. Those are the puppets and paid propped up elements by these political parties and their leaders. You should be distinguishing these from what we call it Khungakpa group. These are civilians. And so unnecessarily you should not harass this Khungakpa or these village volunteers. These are civilians who were forced because government has refused to perform their duty, so they were forced to defend themselves. So you should be able to distinguish these elements who are propped up by the politicians and threatening people and boot capturing during elections, beaten up women. We respect women in Manipur, and we call it Meira Paibis and Ima. They were even attacked by them during elections. With some people even had tried to throttle them. It's all video recording. Those elements must be segregated from our civilian Khungakpa who were forced to defend themselves. And these Khungakpa people, or the village volunteers as we call it, cannot be criminalized. Government has to evolve a policy to accommodate and deal separately. And then you have our all...
They are on both sides, sir. I mean, they are
No,
in
no,
the
I'm
valley,
saying
they are in
that.
the
That is
hills.
why. But shoes are not, those armed groups under shoes are different.
Yeah.
They are supposed to have a ground rule. The government of India should come clean whether this agreement is still in force or not, because the state government has already withdrawn, and a lot of them gets involved in these issues. Those elements must be dealt with it. That is why I'm saying that. But you also historically have other elements, so everything should not be conflated. We have political armed groups. These are groups, proscribed groups, because this is a historically rooted political problem that the state has. We have a long-standing armed conflict there. So this element, the village volunteers, and these elements propped up by the politicians and so on. You see, even among these two groups, you will have the husband is the commander of something and the wife is sitting there, or the spouse is sitting in the assembly as an MLA or party leader. You have that kind of element. So we should be able to delineate this. So there should be a judicious way. So I'm saying two things. You should not uh, be seen as if you are only targeting one community or one kind of a group. Am I making sense? And two, ensure that these village volunteers are treated differently.
From the insurgents.
Yeah, no, these political armed groups on the one side, or these elements propped up by these politicians, which you have seen during the elections. So there are elements who are taking advantage of this conflict situation. Those should be segregated. Definitely, my position since my before election also, I've said it very clearly. Village volunteers, or in Manipuri we call it Khungakpa. These are young men and women who were forced to take up, to defend themselves. this responsibility, take up this responsibility of defending themselves and their property. They cannot be criminalized, and there has to be a policy to deal with this separately. And obviously, you have political armed groups. This is also a political issue. You cannot simply treat it as a law and order problem. But definitely, those other elements who are creating troubles and intimidating people, taking advantage of this conflict situation, must be dealt with firmly. And all this weapon that had been floating around must be recovered by the state. You see, these are the first condition before you do anything else. Once you have achieved this, then you can.
That should be the first
Yeah,
step, you are
obviously,
saying.
then the semblance of law and order and the state must be there. Then second, you do. These are long-standing problems. We have problems of drugs. We have problems of illegal immigrants, which I have been saying it right from the day. Citizens and non-citizens must be delineated. There must be a judicious process to deal with these issues. We have issues of deforestations. We also have problem of unemployment. There are grievances of many communities, and that should be addressed systematically. And this, number one, is the suffering people who have suffered because of this violence, especially those who are linguistic in relief camps. There has to be a step taken. The niceties of talking and dialogue can go at the back. There must be a tangible, concrete steps. So rein in the violence, do it judiciously, delineate various elements, don't conflate everything from political armed groups to village volunteers to these criminal elements who are taking advantage of the conflict. You cannot conflate them. You have to be very clear on how to deal with each of these categories. And second, I am saying that the government must ensure that these people who suffered, relief camps and others, and their needs have been addressed, and they should be relocated or rehabilitated, either in their original places preferably, or those steps should be taken up. And then, issues that we have faced, unemployment, illegal immigrants, drug issues, deforestations, all these things must be taken care of systematically. Then obviously after that, once the semblance of state taking charge in this way comes in, then we can have dialogue with civil society, people to people, and all of that
It's
can
going to
follow.
take a long time, sir.
That is, but the first steps should not take time. The state must come in first.
So, what advice would you give to whoever is appointed the new CM in place of Biren Singh?
See, I said I have been maintaining this. We have been experiencing what is called an Hobbesian world, a statelessness. The authority of the state must come in. That's the basic fundamental job that the new government should have it. This is something we have been missing, and it is because of that we have this problem. So in that sense, rein in the violence. Make it sure that in the name of suspension of operations, you do criminal acts. That must be dealt with it. There are criminal elements who are taking advantage of the conflict situations. Making sure that you distinguish them from the village volunteers. So these are different elements that you must be, that you have a traditional, decades old, historically rooted political problem. Associated with it, we have political armed groups. That should be dealt with politically. You cannot simply criminalize these elements. This is my position. So you cannot criminalize the village volunteers. You should be able to distinguish criminal elements from this group. So don't
The
club.
village volunteers.
Yeah, these are citizens who have been forced to do it. So you should actually evolve a policy to deal with this separately. Okay, and then once you have this clarity, must ensure that this sue, it should be reviewed, because you cannot allow this. Has been a long standing problem we have it. Any dealing with the state, you should ensure that the things are very clear, your ground rules are clear, and it is put in place properly. That should be very clear for us. And if it's going to be, if you are only putting these things to ensure that they can be deployed by some political interest and deploy them during elections, that should be done away with it. I should just seriously rethink about this these issues. These are the issues that the state comes in a big way. The second is deal with the sufferings of the people, where the state must come up front. It's people who are staying in relief camp. Their needs must be addressed, immediate needs, as well as they should be the process of ensuring that they can go back to their original home place. Nobody should be allowed to blackmail on this. We have seen people say we are not going to allow these people to come back and all of that. That must be cracked down. And a state must take a very firm position on those people who are going to obstruct people from settling down in their original homes, whichever way, both sides. The state must take charge of that one. The third element is that we have critical issues, deforestations. These is illegal immigrants, and all these issues have been flagged up by many people. We must form committees to look into it in a judicious manner. They must be addressed. We have drug issues, and no rhetoric. Serious attempt should be made. Many people have been made, scot-free, even after been caught with crores worth of drugs. If you are sincere against war against drug, you should be acting with transparency, with honesty, and should be shown in your deeds. These are some of the critical issues that the government should take it. Once you do that, there is a state and its authority is dictating terms now. Only then we can talk about how the healing process can do it by involving civil society level. That this should not come up front. The first thing is, my position is, the government should ensure that they are taking charge of the situation.
It would also require political dialogue, sir, cutting across,
That is why
party
I said
lines.
that is one of the issues: drug issues, deforestations, and then there's illegal immigrants, and there are grievances of people, about differential developments and so on and so forth. Those things should be judiciously addressed. We cannot communalize these issues. If there are genuine grievances of development related or delivery of goods and services, and people's participation in how their life has been governed, that must be addressed objectively rather than you communalize such issues. So there are key issues. So grievances of the people, genuine grievances of their communities who have given grievances, that must be addressed in an objective, judicious manner. There are issues of deforestation, which has a far-reaching implication for our state, that must be addressed. There are drug-related issues, that is a serious issue which is going to destroy our state. That must be addressed in a very systematic manner. I have no doubt about it. You should be no rhetorics, but serious attempts should be made. That's what the government should be doing it. And then you take up the remaining part. Then you can do it with your civil society organization. But if you allow the government to absorb of their responsibility and throw the ball to the citizens and civil society, things will not work. I think the state is required as the key mover of these changes. And so the new government should take these responsibilities.
Sir, the political representatives from the Kuki community have reiterated their stand that, even if a replacement for Biren Singh comes, they would support him only if they are promised a separate UT. So, I mean, what do you
See,
have to say to that?
that is very unfortunate. You cannot start like this. So that makes one wonder, what was this crisis all about? Is Biren only an excuse for them to pursue certain kind of a divisive politics? From the day one, it's very unfortunate that these political leaders, remember the violence started on 3rd. By 12th, instead of calming down the situation as if you have a preconceived agenda, you started demanding separate administration. You started saying the cookies and we are separated. Instead of, despite the fact that there were cookies in the valley, it was only exposed by one of these newspapers. In September, the cookies were still around in Imphal, because it fits in the narrative. Separate administration, separate administration. Then you said this violence is justified as retaliatory. What happened on 4th and 5th, that is also retaliatory. Can you do away with us? You cannot say everything you are trying to have a retaliatory. That cannot be done. Women and children have been killed, and you are saying it's retaliatory. So houses have been burned in Torbung areas, retaliatory because some gates were rumored to have been destroyed. What is this retaliatory actions? You cannot have that. So I think this is, as far as our party's position, territorial integrity of the state cannot be compromised. So demand for UT is out. But if this violence, that's why I have been saying that I have this suspicion that, instead of trying to calm down the situation, you have been positioning this as we are separated, we are separated. In India, as long as we stay as Indians, you cannot say that you cannot live together. Muslim in India, Hindus in India, Dalits in India, we can't say that I can't live together with other. They're simply out of question. That is anti-national, that is anti-constitutional. So there must be a way to deal with it. So
And
I
they
think,
also need to come to the table for
so
talks.
you cannot have this kind of a precondition, and especially I have no doubt about this position. I can say categorically, nobody in their senses will agree to UT demand. This is a stumbling block to any future coexistence.
Between the communities.
Not only between communities, it will open a Pandora's box. India cannot afford. On an exclusivist identity politics, you cannot do this. Unfortunately, Northeast have suffered for a long time because you have ethnicized all grievances, unlike the rest of the country. I know we have talked about this is called balkanization of India's Northeast. Since the 60s, we have been experiencing that. And then that must be confronted now. Any sensible person, we can talk about your sense of democratic participation in how your life is being governed, how the goods and services, how there can be an effective and efficient way of delivery, where people get access to this one. Those issues can be discussed. But you cannot position on a communal identity-based political project and arguing that despite being citizens of the same country, so and so community cannot live together. That is unacceptable. Not as a Manipuri, but as within the constitutional framework, that's an unacceptable argument.
Right. One last question, sir, before we end the interview. So, do you think now, with the resignation of Biren Singh, the first step towards restoring normalcy in the state has begun?
Yeah, this is one way, but I'm just keeping my finger crossed. Yeah, because it is all along as the government of India's. What they're going to do, we don't know. But the proxy government should end. A responsible government should be there, and government of India must know that we have suffered for 21 months. And I have said this before. If a similar tragedy has struck Gujarat, Bihar or UP or Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh or Punjab or Bengal, they would not have allowed this thing to happen. This feeling must be addressed first, and they must know that they might think that this is a small state, they can bulldoze it. But there is a limit to injustice. So I think for the betterment of this country and for all of us, the government of India should judiciously address the suffering of the people of this state. Because after all, Manipur is the 19th state of this country. They are citizens of this country. We should not forget that.
With this, we come to the end of this interview. Thank you so much, Mr. Akoijam, for joining us.
Yes, my pleasure.